What is music? Here's my definition of music. I've been working on this for a while. I've been meaning to make this video for a while, and I'm just going to get straight to the definition for those that want to see what the definition is. So, definition of music. The art of music is experienced through the performance and or perception of the intentional manipulation and or interpretation of time. The art of music is experienced through the performance and or perception of the intentional manipulation and or interpretation of time. The biggest thing you notice in this definition is the absence of the word sound or any reference to audio or sound or organization or any of those kinds of things. I've been searching through YouTube and looking through all the definitions. I have a playlist. If you want to look through the playlist, there's like 50 or so videos of people giving their explanations of what music is, and all of them are great. I mean, music is such a it's a human experience. It's a human concept. So individual definitions are no more or less valid than mine. I just think mine's more comprehensive and better. I'm trying to get at the fundamental nature of what music is, to answer those questions that come up, like, is rap music, is dance music, is thinking about music, is writing music, is a tree falling in the woods music. There's so many questions that can't be answered by normal definitions of music, and there's so much musical experience, that we are limiting ourselves to by narrowing the definition of music to sound. I mean, there's so many more possibilities out there. So I came up with this definition. I came up with it kind of for a long time, and I was looking for it. The closest thing that I found that kind of references it is somewhat close. I mean, there's some people that kind of mention little things here and there that kind of touch on maybe aspects of this definition. But the closest thing that I found was a quote by Jean-Michel Basquiat from the contemporary art scene. He said, "Art is how we decorate space, and music is how we decorate time." So that kind of again emphasizes that music is not necessarily sound. Music is it's greater than just sound. So I'm going to break down this definition piece by piece. So if that's all you need, and that makes sense to you, then great. Please leave a like or a comment or a description if you and it even helps if you just play the music or play the rest of the video in the background and don't pay attention to it. But if you need more explanation, then keep listening. So I'm going to break down the definition piece by piece, little section by section, and I'm just going to start at the beginning. So the art of music. So music is an art, and then so that term begs the question, what is art? Which is a whole nother video, but I'm going to give you a quick definition of that too. I'm not going to break that down, but my definition of art is an activity and or perception that elicits an emotional and or intellectual response in oneself or others, and is fundamentally not needed for basic survival. So I'm not going to explain it too much, but one thing I left out of my definition of music was any reference to conveying or expressing emotion or communication on a deeper level, or anything related to expression or emotions, because I don't think that's necessarily fundamental to the nature of music. But also, I think if I include it in the definition of art in general, then that kind of includes that in the definition of music as well. So I don't have to explicitly state that in the definition of music. So it's just kind of organizing those kind of concepts in a hierarchy. The art of music is experienced. So I'm just gonna. That's a big key point right there. Is the art of music is experienced. Music is experienced. Music is the experience. So you have your medium, whatever medium. Our most common medium for music is audio music. So whenever anybody hears something that they recognize as music, then it's music. It goes back to a lot of people have definitions of music as whatever I think is music, and that's very true to a certain degree. Music is that experience of something happening and then you recognizing it, and that's where music lives. It's a human experience. So it relies on humans. So to answer the question, if something happens, if a tree falls in the forest and nobody's around to hear it, is that music? Or is it sound, even, or whatever the expression is? But it's definitely not music because there's nobody to experience it. So there's nothing, unless you want to consider animals. So so I include the term performance and or perception because obviously music can be performed. You can create music yourself. You can write music, or it can be received. So if you are experiencing somebody else performing music, and then you can receive it. Or if you hear something that you feel is musical, then you are perceiving that. So intentional manipulation or interpretation. That's just the same dichotomy as performance or perception. So just to sort of keep those kinds of things in line, you either perform something and you're intentionally manipulating something, or you're perceiving something, and so you're interpreting it. And so the last bit of the definition is intentional manipulation and or interpretation of time. And I use time rather than sound because it really opens up the definition. Sound is basically a subset of time. If you break it down into physics, right? Sound is pressure waves in the air that are experienced through time. Your frequency is your waves per however frequencies. I don't remember my physics. Time is the basic. And if you take away the sound aspect, it really opens up a lot of those questions, because so much of our musical experience is based on music theory and a lot of what we have traditionally thought of as music. And so when you break it down to fundamentals, because a lot of the times whenever there's something new in music to experience, people always end up saying, is that music? And there's always questions about things that might be outside of sound necessarily, like dance. Is dance music? Dance is, in a lot of cultures, dance is synonymous with music. You can take away the element of sound, although it's hard to separate sound from anything in the world. But if you rely on a definition of music as sound, that also brings up the question: can deaf people experience music? Are they just not allowed because it's not part of the definition, or is it impossible for them to experience music? And if my definition would open up the realm of music, which many deaf people already know. They can experience music in their way. You can apply that to a personal sense. If you just think about music, anybody, if you without even making any sounds, if you're just thinking of a song, any song, is that music? And I would argue that it is. In that case, you are the performer. You are recreating something that you remember, something that you associate with music in your own mind, And as you are doing it, you are controlling your own time. And I think the idea of controlling time is not even necessarily, referring to the musical elements of time, beat and pulse and all that kinds of things. But it's time in the sense that you are focusing on this experience, and it is kind of taking you into a place that's outside of regular everyday time, or maybe even focusing more in the sense into your experience as time. And in that way, the thing that you are experiencing as you are experiencing it, that experience is a controlling of time. There are also so many things in life and art and are the things that we go through that use music analogies, like or just use music as an analogy. That's saying something is music to your ears. Or in movie making or acting, they refer to taking a beat or using beats, or referencing some sort of musical time structure, and those are definitely those are music. I mean, those they aren't the most important element of maybe those experiences. So it's the focus of that experience isn't music, but on some level, on some part of it, it is a part of the whole structure. It is music. That's why when you put music to those experiences, they enhance the experience. When you put audio music, hopefully this definition will open up and inspire people to try different things with music. Not only try different things with audio music, but be more open-minded about music in general, what we think of, what everybody thinks of as music, but maybe even open up avenues for new types of musical experiences. I mean, there's probably been lots of that in avant-garde type of art, but it doesn't even need to be avant-garde, just more visually musical music. I don't know if that's the term, but I mean, because right now our umbrella is like, we have a big circle. According to my definition, music is this, and then what we actually consider music is really, a small portion of what music could be. Music is could be a very basic concept, much like the idea of communication. When we think of communication, we can, in a very similar sense, we think of communication like speaking to one another, but communication can be printed, just like music, reading, but also communication can be sign language, physical acts. Communication is very specific in that it is very specifically conveying ideas and stuff like that, not necessarily. So it's not necessarily music. I'm not saying communication is music, but in the same way that we have a definition for communication that incorporates all these different types of communication, we should have a definition of music which incorporates a multitude of types of music, of musical experience. And that's it. Please like, comment,